What else are the problems in terms of, getting meters and supplying them to your customers?
Well, as far as the discourse are concerned, we would like to meter. We've had the advantages of metering. But because we are a regulated business, no matter how much we want to invest in metering is just a component of the other cost of running our business. We have transformers, we have cables, we have other, capital expenditures that we must do. So metering is just an aspect, of the capital expenditure.
A very important aspect.
Very important.
You don't cheat your customers.
Very important, but again, if I don't also invest in transformers, there wouldn't be, supply. Do you understand? So every aspect of the value chain is very important. That's what I want to say. Now, the issue is, because the total capital expenditure I'm expected to spend in terms of metering is regulated by NAC, the regulator. So it means no matter how much I want to invest, I have a cap. I can't go beyond that. That is a problem. Secondly, because I cannot invest more, and since we started business, because of the lack of collection, because of the collection losses are growing, rapidly. One, partly because of the meter, partly because of stealing, and partly because those customers, as Bob mentioned, there are a lot of customers that are out there that are, that are on our network, but we are not able to capture them. So these are some of the issues. Now, if I'm able to, get all those things, together, and then I'm allowed to recover my expenditures, and also the tariff is right, I can easily get financing. I can get vendor financing from Mojek or from Momas, and say, look, they can see clearly my cash flow for the future.
Okay, let me try and bring Mr. Dickerman in there. Even so, let's accept at face value that all of these things that have been mentioned are real problems, they're real challenges. What stops us from getting customers who really do want to pay for the power that they've used to buy meters directly from manufacturers?
Well, the only thing that is preventing them is the current regulations, but there has been a program up until recently called CAPME, where customers who were not willing to wait for the distribution company's metering program were allowed to finance the purchase of meters and front to the distribution company. The distribution company has to pay them back with interest, with 12% interest, to get that back. But the structure is really to allow the distribution companies to manage their network. And if you let customers buy a meter, to be honest with you, many customers will buy the wrong meter. You may have customers that have a very high demand and they need what's called a three-phase meter, and they'll buy a one-phase meter because it's cheaper. There may be a desire for a distribution company to put in a smart meter network. Smart meter is one that has two-way communications. A smart meter enables us to help manage our network more efficiently and effectively, and no customer would probably ever buy a smart meter. And you would have many different manufacturers and many different types of quality in the network.
Surely that's just an issue of standardization.
Exactly.
Which is something that, if the will exists, can take place.
But I would say this as well, though. Bob probably hasn't told you this, but in his network or his jurisdiction, you suffer issues where people actually clone meters as well.
They do.
And you may want to talk about that. Because no matter how much we actually do the standardization.
But isn't that really an indication of just how much of a hunger there is for meters? And I know someone, the acting head of NERC is around. Could we get a mic to him? Because actually it would be nice if he could talk to us about why we're not coming up with innovative ways of solving this meter problem. For example, allowing customers to actually buy meters directly from manufacturers that are licensed for that particular role. Yes, please. And if I could introduce him probably, Mr. Anthony Aka, the acting head of NERC.
Within the electricity sector, it's very important that metering is being monitored, because it's an instrument that guarantees revenue to the distribution company, at the same time provides fairness in the billing. And if meters are allowed, that customers will go directly and buy meters, there will be multiple problems. However, at this point in time, as we are looking into finding a solution to close this gap, we're also thinking about some other innovative ways that we as regulator, working with the sector players, will be able to put heads together and see how we can expeditiously close up the gap. So at this point in time, what we've done so far is to ensure that we work with distribution companies, go after them, and ensure that they meet up their metering obligations that they signed with the federal government and also they undertook with the regulator.
I had the privilege of welcoming two people to the panel to replace the earlier CEOs of the two discos that we had. And it is my pleasure to introduce to the panel Mr. Ernest Umpuaya, the MD for Abuja Disco. Sir, thank you for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you.
Yes, and of course, also Mr. John Donaki. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Excellent. The MD of Ibadan Disco.
Thank you.
Now, before the break, we were discussing the issue of metering and why meters were not that easy to come by. There was mention of the fact that there was a program that initially allowed customers to actually buy meters and then recoup their money from the discos, but that was stopped. What was the problem? Why was that program truncated?
Well, thank you first of all for allowing us to be and answer these great questions. Fundamentally, the CAPNI program has just recently been halted. I know, talking for myself on Ibadan Disco, it was a highly successful program, which allowed us to really scale up our metering program with our customers. And we were highly successful in ensuring that program was implemented. It did come with teething problems, particularly around making sure that it was done within a certain time period, which was 45 days, making sure that you got the right meters in the right place. And so we were implementing about 5,000 a month, so it was really successful. But the regulator and the relative government agencies decided to stop that.
Did they explain why?
Well, fundamentally, it's about the fact that they wanting to get the discos to take full accountability for our shortfalls, which is the metering, which is an issue and has been an issue. And you will have found that the discos have ramped up dramatically their focus on on metering, on the metering communication, and our commitment going forward as we have a look at it. So, for example, if you have a look at 2015, we weren't successful in our metering programs, if we had to be totally honest. However, this year, 2016, we've ramped up dramatically, and a huge focus has been on actually overcoming those shortfalls. So I know for a fact, if you have a look at the communication and commitments by all discos, we've really ramped up dramatically, and I think the number is over 800,000 has been committed to in 2016.
Now, there's a level of distrust currently between consumers and distribution companies because, like I said, power itself is not stable. You don't get it all the time, and yet people are paying bills, and sometimes they're paying bills that they don't really understand. So I'd like to bring the MD of the Abuja Disco and ask you, in your view, this program, the CAPNI program that was stopped, was that the right thing to do, given the fact that I'm assuming you would want to make your customers happy by giving them meters, because you keep saying you want to give them meters?
Thank you very much. Just like what my colleagues have said, the CAPNI program was a successful program because it was an interim measure to try and bridge the gap, and also it provided an opportunity for the customers who wanted a meter like yesterday and they cannot wait for mass rollout of meters. But of course, that's not to say it didn't have challenges. Some of the challenges are to do with the efficiency of rolling out meters in isolated areas because, the applications are coming from all over. So it's not cost effective to hop from one place to another and so on. Those are some of the challenges. But it's a program which could have died naturally as a ramp-up of mass metering, takes hold. It's something which can die naturally.
So what I'm hearing you saying is, and we're very lucky we've got the minister here as well as the regulator. What I'm hearing you say is essentially left to you, you'd like to have that program brought back.
Well, what I'm saying is that as we ramp up our mass metering, then the customers will be able to know that, have confidence that the rollout has commenced, and naturally they would rather, they'll make a choice whether to wait for mass rollout or continue with CAPMI. So it's a program which could have died naturally as we ramp up our meter program.